Good morning, everyone. We're going to begin our meeting this morning on this beautiful last day of winter, first day of spring hybrid day. It is the regularly scheduled Committee of the Whole meeting of the Municipality of the County of Kings. Today's Tuesday, March 19th, 2024. The hour is 9 o'clock in the morning on the dot. My name is Deputy Mayor Emily Lutz, and I am the chair of the Committee of the Whole meetings here at the municipality. And I welcome you to our meeting today, those of you here in person with us today and those online. So we'll start our meeting this morning by taking roll calls. So if councillors could please indicate their presence on the electronic pin pad now, that would be handy. Thank you. For those who might be new to council this morning or listening online, there's a 10-second delay from when a request is made or a motion is made from the chair to when the councillors will input their vote, or presence in this case, on the pin pad. We have a full host today, which is wonderful to see. And we'll move into item 2, which is approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda this morning? Moved by Councillor Burgess, second by Councillor Hurdle. Thank you. Any discussion on the agenda this morning? Relatively straightforward. All right. All those in favor or otherwise of the proposed agenda, please indicate now. Councillor Harding, how do you vote? In favor? Yes. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Is there any items of conflict of interest that folks wish to disclose this morning? Any conflict of interest items? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to item 4, approval of minutes. We have 2 sets of minutes in front of us this morning. The first is from February 20th, 2024. Could I please have a motion to approve those minutes as circulated? Moved by Councillor Harding, seconded by Mayor Matart. Any discussion on the February 20th minutes of Committee of the Whole? Seeing none, all in favor or otherwise, please signify in the usual fashion. Those minutes are approved. Thank you, Council. And the second set is from the February 28th budget meeting, which was held in these chambers on February 28th. Any discussion on those minutes? Approval is moved by Councillor Granger. Thank you, Councillor. Seconded by Councillor Burgess. Any discussion on the minutes from the budget meeting of February 28th? Seeing none, all those in favor or otherwise of approving those minutes, please indicate now. And while we wait for the motion, is there any business arising from either sets of minutes? Either sets of those minutes. Okay, I see none, so we'll move right along to item 6 into our presentations. We have Danny Graham today, who's the Chief Engagement Officer of Engage Nova Scotia, presenting on the Quality of Life Initiative. And while it's not a conflict per se, I do sit on the board of Engage Nova Scotia and have since 2017. And so I've known Danny for a long time. I'm so excited he's here in chambers with us today, and really appreciate you making the trip, Danny. So welcome to Committee of the Whole.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you, councillors, for the opportunity to share some ideas with you today about what it is that we're doing in collaboration with municipalities across the province and to all 3 levels of government, as well as with community partners. Our relationship to Kings County actually goes back several years. We have worked with you on some occasions, I think it was the first time that I met some of the councillors and staff related to the public engagement work that we've been doing all across Nova Scotia with municipalities. It strikes me about 6 or 7 years ago. So I'm delighted to be back on behalf of our board of directors to share with you the excitement that we have and that we are part of with respect to the Nova Scotia Quality of Life Initiative. I'm going to take you through a series of slides and that will describe generally what we're doing, but I will also bring you into some tools that we have that are really groundbreaking and important for Kings County and other municipalities from one end of the province. First thing to know is that we're a nonprofit charity that's supported by all 3 levels of government and by philanthropy, and our mission is really an ambitious one about changing the approach to improving quality of life for everyone. Our website will explain more about all the different things that we do, but if you were trying to imagine what it is that we have been up to for the 12 years that we have existed, it's really been in this vein, that we have been focused on, in the Atlantic provinces, Nova Scotia generally, about the important issues of economic and population growth. And what we're bringing attention to is that in order for that economic and population growth to be really effective for communities, we also need to be paying attention to the quality of life and community for everyone. And this is a sort of a virtuous circle that describes the work that we're up to. So if one were to ask, how do you connect to the important topics of economic and population growth? Our response would be, it's the less seen things in the soil. And in an agricultural part of Nova Scotia, this is obviously well known. You can't actually enjoy the benefits of and the fruits of what it is that you're doing without paying attention to the soil within which you're planting your seeds. So, what have we done in that regard? In the first response that we got to this, people said, well, how do you measure quality of life? Is that even possible? And the answer is yes, and we've been fortunate to be associated with the Canadian Index of Well-Being at the University of Waterloo, which is one of the world-leading institutes that focus on measuring quality of life for everyone in their community. Back in 2019, we undertook a massive survey. We asked 1 in 5 households in Nova Scotia to participate in a survey cutting across 230 questions. The results of that were really quite inspiring for us. We received 13,000 responses to 230 questions that have been weighted by age, sex, and region, and represents the largest single quality of life data set anywhere in Canada that's ever been created. And that's been, frankly, the result of so many different partners that we've had from one end of the province to the other, including, you'll see in the dead center of this logo soup that I have in front of you right now, the County of Kings, that were partners with us in 2019 in promoting and supporting the importance of this work, along with, you'll see, so many other groups, including the Annapolis Valley Chamber, and groups and sectors and levels of government from one end of the province to the other. So this, at a geographic level, the slide that I'm sharing with you represents sort of the initial slice that we saw that gives us a data set that, for example, in the Valley represented 929 survey responses to 230 questions. That's never been generated for this region of the province before, and I want to share with you more about what we've been able to do in terms of dissecting that down to even finer and finer slices of the looks within communities of what's going on. It's been weighted. The margin of error is really terrific, even for regions of the province, and we've entered into data sharing agreements with lots of partners and universities about this. So you might be asking, what's possible? What I just shared with you is the 13,000 responses, which is really exciting. And what this creates, however, there are 3 pages of this questionnaire that we've circulated to Nova Scotians that the 929 residents of the Annapolis Valley responded to, that ask them questions about, well, who really are you? What's your age? How many children do you have? What are their ages? Are you renting? Are you owning? What's your education? What's your ethnicity? And related issues that gives us not, and this would be the sort of the words that we get from our friends at Statistics Canada, you're not an inch wide and a mile deep, and you're not a mile wide and an inch deep. You're a mile in both directions in terms of the way in which we're able to consider the stories, the perceptions, the experiences of people at a hyper-local intersectional level. And it's because we asked so many different questions about people's profiles that it gives us groundbreaking new information. Now, the black bar represents just a sampling of the way in which we have information about people's personal characteristics. And then you'll see a massive number of questions that I won't overwhelm you with by focusing on them in the 8 what are called domains of well-being that are captured here. But I just invite you, because we're going to move to some tools that are color-coded relative to those pinks and blues and oranges and reds and so on, so that you understand roughly what you're seeing when I go into those tools in just a moment. Now, these tools, I have to say, are incredibly exciting. They represent, we in a sense, we like to say that with the Faculty of Computer Sciences at Dalhousie, we caught lightning in a bottle when this group of Brazilians came up from Brazil, recruited by Dalhousie, to start one of the leading computer science tools generation hubs anywhere. They're now in the Netherlands, but they've stayed with Engage Nova Scotia, and they're with one of the leading organizations globally that create tools of this type. Now, this tool, the Wellbeing Mapping Tool, I'm going to bring you into in just a moment. It's the only one of its type anywhere in the world. And the other one, which is our Wellbeing Analysis Tool, will be the second demonstration that I provide to you, and hopefully you'll find that this is really locally relevant for you. So let me jump out of this tool and get right into what does this look like for you in your local region. And I need now to go to, I'm still on Wi-Fi, so let's go to the, who knows what I have open here. Oh, right away, we're going to the right tool. So this is a tool that's on our website. It's called the Wellbeing Mapping Tool, and the 230 questions organized across these 8 domains are nested inside of this this tool. So anyone in your staff, any of you, can go to our website, do a short tutorial, and have answers really locally for any one of our questions. So I'm going to show you how that works, and then I'm going to take you out to our other tool right after that. So I'll give you a sense of just how many questions we've got nested in all of this. We've got, if you want questions just on community vitality and sense of community, you'll see that we've got a massive number of questions that we would be able to consider and answer for you. Just to give you a feel for how what this is going to look like, first of all, you're going to see the tools sort of change colors all across our province for these different types of questions. But I'm going to take you to, I want to focus, in the interest of time, on questions that would be, there are dozens of questions that are relevant to municipalities within this. So I thought, in the interest of time, let's just focus on access to recreation and leisure as a something which would be of responsibility to you. So under the leisure and culture section of what we've got physical activity participation, arts participation, et cetera, and then we have the questions about perceived accessibility of recreation and cultural facilities. So I'm just going to give you a sense of what this tool can do and what it looks like for you. And we'll start with, within this, the question of accessibility of recreational facilities are easy for people to get to. And I'm just going to take us off of this particular focus here. And you'll see that we've got this color-coded across 70 different regions of the province. So we're going to be able to bring you into B0P, for example, if that's a postal code that's of interest to you in the work that we're doing. Or we could just look at the valley as a general rule. So watch this map change. It's currently coded to look at, sometimes this gets finicky when I'm on somebody else's tools. Let me just pull this corner down and you'll be able to see. Watch the map change here. This is now, we're moving from sense of community questions to questions related to access to recreation facilities in Nova Scotia. So this is available for you to look at your will. It gives you a picture across every one of these questions of how Nova Scotians are doing. Now here's how to read this. You read it by asking the question at the top. Cultural facilities are easy for me to get to, from very strongly agree at the top to very strongly disagree. So the 12.3% is the number of people who very strongly agree, and the 4.4% for the province are people who strongly disagree with this issue. Now, there's a rural and urban feature to this that we've learned about, and there's even a town and county feature of this that I'm happy to talk about when we go to the next tool, if you're interested, where perhaps you might expect people in more rural and county regions are less happy with the access to recreation facilities, educational opportunities, and other things. More to say on this. Now, the tool allows us to zero in if we want. Now, most of these answers that we got are between 6 and 3, where the brighter the color, the closer to yellow, the more positively people feel about this. Again, a rural-urban divide. The darker the colors, the more concerning it would be. So this tool, again, available to you, will allow you to look at, okay, what's happening inside the regions of the province, and then you can start to break it out into B4P, or B4N, or B0P, for example, and look at the results for any one of these questions for you right now in real time related to the 2019 issues. And if you want to lasso and see, you wouldn't require this, but we've got some map transparency that allows you to see, okay, where in the valley am I looking across these particular regions? Or if you wanted to sort of cluster a region, you can do this, and you can circle all of the areas that are of interest to say, okay, let's just look at the regions that I've just circled, and you get a feel for what the answers are for them. So this tool doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. It's been self-built by globally leading people that will help you make decisions more effectively than you've been able to before. And that's the opening sort of act, and not to sound too proud about this, because it's really the work of brilliant people at Dalhousie who have been the architects of making this happen. But they moved beyond that, and they created a tool that I think is more relevant. What this tool tells you is, where are people regionally? What are they saying? But it doesn't tell you exactly what's the story of the people inside the regions of Nova Scotia. And this next tool actually gives you a better feel for this. So as I move to the next tool, just bear with the overwhelming amount of information. Don't try to digest it all. We'll get down to more simplified versions of how it might be relevant. I just want you to consider the patterns that you're seeing about how these tools work. So this one we still call whiz bam boom because we're so excited and perhaps immature. This organizes, there are hundreds of stories based on the stories of African Nova Scotians, for example. People by age, the stories of business, buying local. Fabulous stories in the Valley, by the way, about how differently people, how much more often folks in the Valley buy local relative to the rest of the province. It's really magnificent. Confidence, disabilities, health, housing, older adults, poverty, stories of family, substance abuse, trust, work-life balance. It's just massively loaded with information that wouldn't be available. Again, this tool doesn't exist anywhere else. It's actually receiving attention from the United Nations, from federal government, and others as a potential pathway to break through to help understand what's really going on at a hyper-local, intersectional kind of level. So I'm going to give you the simple version of this that hopefully will help you understand its potential for our next survey, which is really what is the most exciting part of this. So you supported us in 2019 in promoting what it is that we're doing, and we're asking that you consider continuing to support us as we move towards the next survey in April, May, and June of this coming year. Now, here's where it gets quickly overwhelming. I'm going to show you the story of, and I'm just going to, this is only intended to help you read this, of what's happening in Nova Scotia across each of those 10 regions that we just talked about. You remember that map and the many questions. So here's what Nova Scotia looks like across all those regions. You're not going to be able to read anything. We're just going to look at the patterns right now. And here's what it looks like. You remember those pink questions around community vitality? So this is sense of community. Do people have your back? Do you feel discriminated against? Do you trust local government? Do you trust federal, provincial government? Do you trust business? Do you trust justice, healthcare, policing? All loaded into this pink bar. And then beyond that, I'll just touch on healthy populations. Interesting look in the in parts of the valley, higher trust and confidence in the healthcare system than many other regions of the province, by the way. Democratic engagement, the environment, rec and leisure, you're going to come down to this one in a moment, educational opportunities, work and jobs, the affordability of life, and then time use, which is really quite important. Now, you'll see, this is the big picture right now. And purples are concerns, yellows are assets. And so what'll show up when I just look at this is, okay, what are these bright purples? What are these bright yellows? In CBRM in 2019, confidence in the healthcare system was in the toilet. Stories, you won't be surprised, related to the environment in Pictou, where water and air quality were problems showing up as real concerns. Access to education and leisure and related issues in the Strait, Western Cape Breton area showing up as strong purples. And then, of course, we have the many different regions. This one right here showing up as, and I'll just pull it in, as Annapolis Valley Hants. And what we see generally for you is that you track close to the provincial average as a geography. So Annapolis Valley Hants tracks close to the geography of Nova Scotia as an average. And you might be thinking, well, that doesn't tell me much. How can we get further and deeper into this? And we'll be able to show you this story. So this is your story relative to the rest of the province on average. But what if we were able to look at this intersectionally? What if we were able to actually go deeper and say, well, let's just check out Annapolis Valley Hants and look at the stories of people inside each of the regions, and we are indeed able to do that. So going to pull you into a new feature of the tool that just focuses on the valley and the West Hants area that we disaggregated according to the findings from Statistics Canada. Happy to talk about what this is. And what we see, this first bar here is the one for Annapolis Valley Hants. And you'll see right away, these light colors are saying, again, it's close to the middle. The darker purples are concerns. The brighter yellows are assets for folks. And so we are quickly able to see in this particular feature that in general, the valley tracks to the provincial average. I'll take you down to that wonderful environmental feature here, where how often in the last year people purchased food locally. You'll see a really, really strong deviation from the provincial average for it. But when we go back to this and we look at the story of people in the valley with low incomes or living with disabilities, or those who have older adults and younger adults and those who have educations up to high school education, you see these purples showing up that really represent concerns for us. Now, I'm going to show you in a moment just the way in which access to these recreation and leisure questions show up for these communities of people. Since I focused on them before, we talked a moment ago about access to parks and facilities and that sort of thing. That shows up in this data set as well. But I'm just going to give you a full feel for what's the story overall in the valley. And if you look at the overall population and you want to know what are the notable assets and concerns, it generally looks like this. You track close to the provincial average. In general, you buy more local food, and people perceive that there are more educational opportunities. But if you're living with a low income in your region of the province, it looks like this. So a striking difference that shows up for people with low income, and if you're living with a disability, it looks like this. If you're an older adult, it looks more like this. Now, that's 2019 before the pandemic, and we'll have information about the degree to which that's affecting people. If you're a younger adult, it looks like this. So these tools are available for us as we move forward. These tools don't exist anyplace else, and they can give you really interesting and hyperlocal, what we call hyperlocal information. And if you're wondering, well, how finely can we go into this? We can go into You know, we've got the story of B0P mapped out. If you wanted to know what that looks like, we don't have time for it today. But here's the story within just B0P, where we had, I think, about 300 or so respondents that tell you the story in that region about people living with low income and so on and so forth. So these are the features that are available for you to consider as we move forward, and you're better able to make the kind of decisions for the people who are struggling in your backyard more often. Let me pull out to the implications of this and maybe even talk a little bit about a use case. So you might be wondering, how is this actually being used? We were asked by CBRM last year to go into their community and help them understand the story of exactly what is happening for their residents beyond just the average. And at the beginning of the session that we had with them, they were focused on economic development and population growth as their focus. But at the end of our session, we were delighted that they actually added a new, larger goal. And in addition to economic and population growth, social inclusion is a focus. And after that session, they struck task forces on housing and youth and family rec. And we're doing a deeper dive next week on bringing young voices and single parents into a conversation with those task forces in council to say, okay, what can we actually do to make this a reality? Here's a testimonial from the mayor. Here, I've used the words hyperlocal, intersectional, and nimble before. That's what StatsCan says we can do that they can't do. And if you're not bought into the idea of quality of life for everyone, and you only want to save money, this is not unlike what the metaphor I like to use is like radiation treatment, where you're able to beam in and figure out with a laser, okay, where are the greatest problems and for whom, and what can we do, where you're spending less money to create greater impact for the people who need it most. You can use this for budgeting, planning, and measuring on a go-forward basis. Now, our future plans are, and I'll finish with these future plans and open to your questions as well. The future plans are for us to, we're working on customizing an analysis hub where you'll be able to go to our website, watch a video, sign on, and have staff say, okay, I want to know for our region on these topics and for these demographics, the answers to the following questions. And we will be able to create for you customized data packages that we can share back with you and create greater insights, and perhaps have workshops in the vein that would have been happening that we expect to be building out and we're doing with CBRM and other municipalities. A sampling of this in the package that I've shared looks like this. This is just one asset where I just focused on Annapolis Valley Hants, on rec and leisure, and it showed up, and I pulled it. It wasn't easy to pull into this slide, but just showing you, this is a PDF we can knock over to you in a short period of time that answers your staff or your questions in a quick fashion. The next survey, as I mentioned, is coming up, and we really want to reach people at a granular level, especially for those people who are less likely to participate in this type of work for underrepresented and marginalized communities. And finally, this is my last slide, how can you benefit and use this going forward? You can go to the mapping tool now. You can suggest new questions that aren't included in our questions right now. We certainly want you to promote the participation of this going forward. We've been fortunate, and some of you would be aware, that we're being supported on a 5-year term with the provincial government right now. And the Deputy Minister of Municipal Affairs, Byron Rayfuse, invited all municipalities to participate in a workshop that we had done in December where we talked about this. And we included in that an ask of municipalities to participate so that they can be fully represented. This is an all of Nova Scotia idea at 50 cents a resident for each of the municipalities. We've been encouraged by the uptake that we've been receiving from other municipalities about that, and we want it, frankly, to be in front of you for consideration in your budget consideration. So we're looking forward to continuing to work with Kings County. We really, if you want more information or if you want to interact now and before we do that next survey, then we're excited to do anything and everything that really meets the needs of you and, most importantly, your residents. I may have gone over the 20 minutes for presentation, and that also may have felt like I was going at breakneck speed, but I think we still have some time for questions and commentary from councillors, and I look forward to those.
Yeah, thanks, Danny. We have 15 more minutes. You're scheduled till 9:45, so you're right on track. And the board's lighting up, so this is good news. Mayor Matart, you're first on the list.
Thanks, Mr. Graham. It's nice to see you again and see that you're still as active as you have always been. I'm interested in the refreshment of the tool. How often does that happen, and or what's the plan for it happening in the future?
I didn't include a slide, and I might be able to find it right now to animate on our screens. Let me see if I can. I will get to it. But here is the ultimate plan for this tool. Relates to increasingly refining down to geographic areas that relate to where are the municipalities. So with additional dollars, we will be able to work with our colleagues at the University of Waterloo and our colleagues in the Netherlands to create something where we're able to say, okay, what was the story in, we still need to work to refine this. Some municipalities, Yarmouth, Truro, Guysborough, we just need to pick on, go to B0H or, B2N or something like that, and we get squarely what their communities are. Not so easy for some like yours. And it's not coded to educational districts or the centers and health districts or provincial or federal constituencies. And we hope that over time, we're going to be able to get the resources to build out the tools so that they are increasingly refined. So the second tool is password protected. It's going to feel like a Maserati for anybody who joins onto it. And just to sort of extend that metaphor a little bit, this is not a faster horse and buggy for doing public policy. It's actually a new generation of something that we're able to create uniquely here in Nova Scotia that doesn't exist anywhere else. But it's still a Model T Ford to sort of extend that. It's still at the very beginning. And as we move to a 57 Chevy and then to a Maserati over time, it's going to be increasingly nimble and available for people. And we think we've got the right people in our team to enhance and improve it over time.
Deputy Mayor, could I suggest maybe we could each get at least two questions, maybe three questions, because one just leads into another?
Absolutely. You got it.
Thank you. So, Mr. Graham, as the driver of a 2013 vehicle, your data here is 2019 data that we're using now, right?
Yeah.
And so my question is, how often do you go back to the fount in order to refresh that data by putting out the same type of questionnaire and bringing in more current answers so that you can deal with real life? I'm not trying to criticize the tool.
No.
I'm saying that the council that's coming in 2024 is going to want to say, well, this is great. Now we want to know, we're doing our strategic plan and we want to know the answers to these things. Now, if we drill in here today, we'll get the 2019 information.
So, first of all, the data that we often use through StatsCan is strikingly dated as it is.
Yes.
And we want to do it every 5 years for the large surveys. This time the stretch is 6 years. Lots of reasons for that. It includes the fact that the cost of doing the mail-outs to 100,000 Nova Scotia residents, which is going to be the next survey, and on multiple occasions, and reaching underrepresented communities, is actually approximately in the range of about $1 million just to do that kind of a project. It's unlike any other effort. And it's taxing on Nova Scotians to do. So we want to do it every 5 years. We're going to give you post-pandemic and pre-pandemic information because we're going to do it next year, but we want to do it thereafter every 5 years. But what we've suggested to the provincial government, our partners, our main partners in this, is that you should be doing something on the critical questions every year. So what are the things that are most important to Nova Scotians? Let's get these repeated. It may be 20 questions instead. It may be a smaller sample, but it will allow for us to move more nimbly on the priorities that we need over time.
Okay, and last question. I've gathered from what you've been saying that to this point in time, at any rate, you're a non-profit organization. And in order to go forward, you did make mention of the fact that you needed 50 cents a resident from municipalities, for example, which in our case would be about $25,000. Are you confident that you're going to be able to get all municipalities? There's 48 of us.
Yeah, no, so it's not a requirement that municipalities join. And we're going to continue, regardless of whether you participate, this is for all Nova Scotians. And the fiscal capacity and the level of engagement and the size of municipalities will determine how much we are going to be in. I'm estimating that, we have commitments that stretch all across the province already. We have councils currently in active consideration for this. The larger municipalities have demonstrated that they are in. Kings County, being the third largest municipality, is a significant part of what that could look like. But this is for all Nova Scotians. And what the province has signaled to us is that we've been really active in this space and would really like municipalities who will benefit from this to be actively demonstrating their commitment. And that includes with staff and others. As we go to this next survey, we really want you to be a partner with us in making sure that your residents know about this, because the more Kings County residents who answer the survey next year, the more valuable the data set's going to be for you for the 5 years that follow.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillor Hurdle.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Through you, you certainly engaged me. This is a fascinating tool. I'm looking at this as a survey tool, so my understanding being these are reported feelings. So understanding that, are there qualitative results that you can compare these reported feelings to, and are able to compare where people in certain regions or areas may feel that their perhaps quality of life is higher when in fact maybe the metric is lower, or vice versa, where they're reporting their quality of life is lower, but in fact their qualitative results should be perhaps reported as higher? And have you seen any deviations across, if you have compared that, across regions in the province, thinking about some of the engagement we've seen from municipal lobbying perspective? I see different priorities and concerns from different municipalities, especially around service agreements between the province and the municipalities. So I'm fascinated where that may lead, if you have an answer there.
Yeah, so I want to make sure that I'm tracking your question, Councillor, accurately, and I'll give you an example of what I think tracks to it well. You're pointing to somebody's reality may be really challenging, but they're actually quite happy, for example, and vice versa. That actually is a phenomenon in this field, that it's and I won't go into the details of it, but I'll give you a specific example. We've talked about it publicly before, but of the regions of the counties in Nova Scotia where people are generally happiest, Inverness is one of them. And we know that the economic circumstances in Inverness back in 2019 were more challenging than they are in many other parts of the province, but they report being happy, which really invites us to go to the next question about why. What's going on here? If you go to urban Halifax, where we know that the economic conditions, not just HRM, but urban Halifax, where incomes and other related assets are really strong and high and that sort of thing, reports of concerns about any variety of things, trust in government, discrimination, and related issues, are a greater concern for them. So there's so many different layers that we can unpack with this that actually will serve us to understand that there aren't simple answers to these complex issues, but we're much further ahead in understanding the way in which this shows up for people at a local level than we have been before.
Any follow-up, Councillor?
No, send it back to the room. Thanks.
Okay, great. I think it's because there's so many fiddles in Inverness. That's my theory. Councillor Granger, go ahead.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Through you. Thank you for your presentation this morning. What a great mission to make sure everybody's quality of life is measured. One of my big questions is there's 230 questions on your questionnaire. Is there a cross-section of people that are actually asking the questions so they know what questions to ask? Is it generated by AI, or is it, how do you get the questions is my question.
Yeah, so one of the item 2 here is for you to, and I'm happy to share what are our questions, what are the 230 questions, and how were they developed in the first place. So this work is part of a global movement on these issues. So the Organization for Economic and Community Development, OECD, and others, leading organizations, have been working on frameworks about what works. And in Canada, through the Atkinson Foundation, this began with the seeds of people like Roy Romano and Monique Bégin and others consulting with Canadians, including Indigenous people in Canada, about what makes for a happy, full life for everyone. So using consultation and subject specialty, they built this framework that continues to emerge and get refined. And we in Nova Scotia, this initiative is seen as, the leading initiative. So our ability in Nova Scotia to be in a place where we can inform what those questions change to for 2025 is really strong, but we need to repeat many of the same questions as well. So part of the work that we're going to be doing over the next year is going to our many partners, including historically marginalized and underrepresented communities, to say, does this reflect your kind of questions in doing this? So we are specifically hiring somebody to engage with communities and people with disabilities. We're specifically hiring somebody to be connected to historically marginalized and racialized communities to say, what in this makes sense for you and your community of people. So it will continue to be refined, and the base will stay the same because it's solid, but we can refine it and improve it to reflect the current times.
Good. And if I may,
Absolutely.
Another
Yeah.
question.
Go ahead.
Is any of the information sold anywhere?
Sold?
Mm-hmm.
No. We're a nonprofit registered charity, and there will be times we expect in the future where there's a cost recovery to what we're doing, but our mission as an organization is related to changing the approach to improving quality of life for everyone through an altruistic kind of lens. And so there's not a for-profit arm that is what we're doing, but as you can imagine, this is only going to grow as a something, and we need to be able to build those new tools and to create the ability for not me, but somebody else to come back as you and your staff are sort of mining this to say, okay, what do we need to do? How does this inform the 2026 budget and related questions? and we will have more people who can be in that interactive place with you. That's part of the growth trajectory, so finding ways to make sure that gets supported is very much on our minds.
Great. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Hurdle.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Through you, with the questions you've created for the survey, what are you doing to ensure that the questions, as they change and grow and are adjusted, are not being framed within a certain worldview and are kept closer to an unbiased or neutral, so as not to influence any of the results and therefore influence potential decision making if this data is used to make decisions?
Yeah, great question. So we have academic partners in various places, and we have relationships with parties across all sectors and all regions and all levels of government who are working with this. We're doing, for example, a workshop for all government departments coming up in the next month or so, and they've already signaled to us, for example, that we need to be paying closer attention to questions related to, for example, disaggregating disabilities at a finer level, asking not just about access to health care, but access to a primary health care physician per se. Housing questions will be more obvious that come into this. And it's all, one of the benefits, frankly, of us being an independent organization that sort of sits at the intersection of all sectors, is that those sectors are constantly feeding into us the perspectives that they think are important, including the business community that just is as excited about this as anyone, because they know that it's one of the advantages we have in Nova Scotia about quality of life. But we really need to understand it at a deeper and better level, at a local level, and who needs the upskilling in order to get the job they need and the dignity in their community to fully participate.
Thank you.
Any follow-up, Councillor? Okay. Any further questions? Good, because we're right on time a little bit. We're just like maybe 1 minute over. Okay, thank you, Danny, Mr. Graham, for being here with us this morning. Really appreciate your time and the travel, and thank you so much for sharing your presentation with us.
Thank you all. Really appreciate your time.
Okay, thanks. And if you need to get to Danny, he's easy to find if you have any follow-up questions or anything further. So at this point, I'd look that Committee of the Whole receive for information the presentation from Engage Nova Scotia Quality of Life Initiative as provided on March 19th, 2024. If you could indicate you're in favor or against now, that would be greatly appreciated. Oh yeah, it needs to be moved and seconded. Oh, Councillor Killam and Councillor Armstrong. Thanks, guys. Sorry. If you can get your votes in under the wire, then we don't have to redo it. Councillor Granger, you're okay? And Mayor Matart? Thank you. I don't think I've ever done that, missed a mover and seconder. There's a first time for everything. All right, moving to item 6B on our agenda this morning, Kings West Community Health Board, Western Zone Community Health Plan. We have Michaela Ogilvie, who's the Community Health Board Coordinator. And then we have certain representatives from the Kings County Community Health Board also here to support. So there's a group of folks this morning. Welcome to all of you. We appreciate you being here, and looking forward to hearing your presentation.
Good morning, and thank you for having us. Apologies for all the coughing spree. I woke up this morning with this, so try and work our way through. And thank you, Lexi, for rescuing me with some cough drops and some water. So my name is Heather Morse, and I'm chair of the Kings West Community Health Board. Our board just recently amalgamated. We were the Kingston Greenwood Community Health Board and Western Kings, and due to numbers, we are now the Kings West Health Board. My background, I'm a retired teacher and school principal, and enjoy working in the volunteer aspect, trying to give back to community.
And hi, my name is Pam McKinley, and I'm a member of the Community Health Board. I live in Kingston, so a special shout out to Martha, who is my counselor. I retired in 2021, and after 2 fairly successful knee replacements, decided it was time to start volunteering last year. So here I am.
So community health boards, we're finding the more we're reaching out and trying to do partnerships. It seemed, I've been a member of the health board for about the last 6 years, and it seems we're getting better at letting people know who we are. But I think the successes have been that we're reaching out to other partnerships, and so we're continuing to work together on the same initiative. So for example, food security has been a big thing, and we're doing a lot of advocacy work and so on. So, excuse me, Pam had indicated we are volunteers. It's not a paid job, and we're working together very much to focus on the social determinants of health. Now that word is used a lot, but basically we're looking at things like food security, education, the list goes on. And we're very much about keeping our communities healthy, but it's not for advocating for more health professionals, doctors, and so on. It's very much, we take this action to, I guess, improve a healthy life. And what we kind of have referred to this is upstream action. And there's a short video that will show you what upstream work is. Should be sound to this.
The videos are always the hardest when we try to play them in here. And
Oh, okay.
there's probably just like a small button or something that it's hard to know.
Well, we can see who keeps chucking these kids. We keep getting people chucked into the river. So I guess kind of at the end there, looking at the downstream, continually looking at more medications and things as opposed to trying to maintain things like healthy eating, being regularly active and so on. So those are the, excuse me, the issues that we're dealing with.
We can circulate the link for council to watch
Okay.
after, and we're not in a rush today. We don't have a super long meeting, so it's we can all take the time to look at it
Okay.
later today.
Thank you.
So similar to Engage Nova Scotia, our health board conducts surveys every 5 years, and this one was done in 2019, looking at food security, housing, recreation and wellness, and community connection. And you know, while we've heard a lot and we've seen a lot in the news on food security and housing, we hear less about the need for recreation and wellness and community connection. So issues such as loneliness, and we've heard that, you know, this is an increasing problem for folks, and issues around mental health. And certainly since the pandemic, these issues have been, I think, really increased, with mental health services, you know, struggling to keep up with the need. And also, I think the need to combat racism. You know, I talked with a person new to our area, and she's been here for a couple of years, and she came from another country. And what she said to me is that, well, she studied racism in her country. She didn't know what it felt like until she moved here. And that is totally unacceptable. So these 4 areas, one isn't prioritized over the other, but they're all upstream social determinants of health.
So the first one, and I was fortunate to be able to work on the health plan, and it took a lot of time doing surveys, something similar, talking with Engage Nova Scotia. We had a number of in-person meetings, so from young people to seniors and so on, trying to get the feeling of what is going on in community. And often we don't really hear from the people that we should be hearing from. So we're now in the second plan that we've been working through, and that should be hopefully completed by the end of this year. So one of the first areas that came through surveys and community conversations was the opportunities for connection and inclusion. And we heard that people have challenges with availability and access to healthy living, recreation, wellness programs. And this is an actual comment from someone in the light blue. We have a lot of folks who do not feel included in our community. More needs to be done to welcome them and inform them of what services and groups are available and how they are able to access them. And I think sometimes we just assume, probably most of us in this room are fairly engaged, but there are a lot that have no idea, or there aren't people out there to actually support those people.
So we've heard that people have challenges with availability and access to healthy living, recreation, wellness programs in their communities. And there's a quote there from someone: we need more recreational facilities which are affordable and funded programs that allow people to, for low incomes, to be active without, breaking their pocketbook. So.
So the next one, working together to improve food security. And we heard that people have difficulty accessing healthy food because of cost, availability, transportation, lack of food skills and knowledge. And this is, again, a quote that came through to the health plan 5 years ago. If we had a school healthy eating policies in all schools in collaboration between local growers, school programs, parents, teachers, and staff, we could have free breakfast and affordable salad bar buffet that supports local farmers and school gardens. And I'm sure that you have all heard of the recent announcement, yes, finally, that we have been given $18.8 million for school food in Nova Scotia. It will begin with primary to 5, so that's not the full scope. And then by the probably 4 or 5 years, 100 million. And I guess when I heard, and I get emotional about this, when I heard the announcement, I thought of this group. Because we stood here, what would it be, 5 years ago maybe, asking for funding. And we had a long conversation with each individual person that sat here at that time, and $200,000 was allocated from the municipality to the schools in Kings County, and I believe $100,000 is being allocated now. So also we had an opportunity to talk at the Federation of Municipalities, and people that came to, when you do the little round table, hop from one table to another. We had a few people at one and a few more at others, but they were extremely impressed and asking us to come to their municipality to say, well, how come they could do that in Kings County? So that's really very impressive, so thank you.
And again, we've heard that people experience a variety of issues finding and maintaining safe, affordable, appropriate housing. And the quote there is, with kids, it's hard. Some landlords won't take kids. Very hard time getting a place. I looked at a place that had 3 to 4 bedrooms and they said, no kids. And, our surveys are kind of small surveys when we send them out, and the last one was in 2019, although we're just working on that again. But, and I'm not sure if Danny's still here, but having access to some of that community-specific information for our community, I think would be really helpful in moving ahead.
Yes, that too. So, the health plan, just referring back to the one 2019, that all the things that we heard, this was from the western zone, which comes from Wolfville to Yarmouth, and that's an area that includes all health boards. We were 37 health boards in the province, and we're down to 35, and I anticipate that will probably go lower. So all the things that we heard, we wanted to focus on these 4 health priorities that we've already referred to.
So what do community health boards do with our health plan? First of all, we give out wellness funds once a year, and our application process is just opened up for this year and available to folks in the community till the end of May. So we also advocate, and we engage in community partnerships. So we advocate for healthy public policy, as Heather was just talking about, and government action. And we form partnerships with community organizations to host events, create projects, and bring people together to talk about and work on the social determinants of health.
So just to give you a brief update, since 2019, Kings West, that's our board now, CHB has given over $142,000 in wellness funds to projects in Kings County, and some of those projects, just to name a few, we had including nature for newcomers, yoga for acquired brain injury, food skills workshops, farm to school snack program, plus many others. And then since 2019, community health boards as a whole, because we have Kings West and Eastern Kings, they've also amalgamated 2 boards as well. There's been over approximately around $339,000 in wellness funds given to projects in Kings County alone. And we get a lot of feedback from Nova Scotia Health saying a lot of the funds are being spent on school food. So I'm not sure if that helped get things moving with the 18.8 million, but hopefully that was a help.
So we've just started developing our next health plan for the next 5 years. We've done engagements with community members and sent out a survey across our zone to hear what people think the health priorities are, their health priorities are, and what's important to tackle in our community. The plan is set to come out later this year.
So what's next? We're not here to ask for any money. What next is hoping that we can meet with Kings County when you have a new council, and we would like to come back whenever that might be, October, November, whenever, to meet with council and show you what the new plan looks like. We are not sure if that's going to be, I mean, we know that food security and housing and all those things have not been fixed, but I'm sure, as Pam mentioned, a lot of issues mental health, addictions. There was a survey done, One Chance to Be a Child was done by Dalhousie, and it is unbelievable. This is just on Nova Scotia children, the issues that Nova Scotia children are facing in every one of these topics that we've talked about. And we tend to think we do live in a lovely province with all kinds of great things going, but there are things that we need to deal. So hopefully we'll come back, we can share what we've heard from communities, and then we'll just hopefully be able to move forward and help with some of those initiatives that have been identified. So we do want to thank you for having us today, and looking forward to coming back with a new plan. And if you have any questions, I'm not sure what our time is, we'd be happy
You're
to.
okay. You're okay for questions. Yeah.
Okay.
Are there questions for Pam and Heather? Mayor Matart.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you for your presentation. It's nice to see you both here, and thank you for the work that you do. it's very difficult. In your position, I would find it very difficult in any event. Perhaps you would find it easier than I would. It's one thing to identify the problems, the issues that people feel are lacking in their lives, and it's another to get a knowledge of the database, Danny's database, that tells you what facilities are actually available today in order to fill some of the needs, some of the gaps that have been identified by the people. Are you satisfied that you've got both ends working toward the center in that regard? Do you know about all the, to take an example of all the recreation activities that are available to people in any county, then take Kings County, so that you can line people up that are on, in your program that you're aware of, that are seeking those types of outlets?
I think it's a challenge all the way around, because certainly health boards have ongoing support from Nova Scotia Health. We have our coordinator with us here today, Michaela, and anytime that we're looking for additional support, we find that Nova Scotia Health certainly gives us some direction, but it's a long ways to go. And the thing that I have found, because I often get, I'm not sure what the word is, because I probably sit on about 10 committees, because I always, as a school principal, I always reached out to the community for help. And I'm finding the more I sit on committees trying to work together, as opposed to, this is my little thing and I'm going straight ahead, so don't you bother with me, because I'm doing school food, or I'm looking at housing. And we tend to participate in a lot of workshops, those that volunteer to do, and it's, I mean, things like Pam read about housing. I've heard that so many times, that we don't accept little children in our housing. And I love animals, but I've heard people say, oh, your dogs and cats are allowed, but we're not allowed kids. So I really don't know if we're going to bring those ends together. One of the other, for example, one of the boards I sit on with Nourish Nova Scotia, which has been very involved with school food for the past 10 years, when I talked about community health boards and what we're doing, many people at that table, and many of them are nutritionists, dietitians, didn't know a whole lot about what a community health board. So we started working together and advocating by way of presentations or sending advocacy letters, very much on the National School Food Program. So I think reaching out to community and working together, we are moving forward. Long ways to go yet.
And I'll just add to that, we receive applications for funding from a number of community organizations that are doing that very work, trying to meet the need of people in our community. So we're really looking forward to the applications this year and trying to meet the need that is out there. Often we can get more applications than we have funding for, but based on what we've identified as our priorities, those social determinants of health, we'll make those decisions as a team.
Okay.
Thank you. That's all I have. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Mayor. Councillor Armstrong.
Thank you. It's great to hear all the work you're doing. I was just curious to know if you do any kind of, I guess I'd call it community outreach. I'm going to date myself here, but years ago, when people moved into community, there was a welcome wagon. And they came out and they had pamphlets and little gifts from businesses and organizations within the community, and it explained what they did and how they could help. And I was just wondering if that was something that you might be able to do when you talk about mental health. If somebody needs somebody to talk to, places that they can go where they can sit with like-minded people and have a conversation. In Kingston we have, if you're talking mental health or addiction, we've got the MAC Center in North Kingston, if you had a little pamphlet about that, or transportation for people who don't have cars. We have a couple of transportation societies that provide, you know, low cost or at no cost transportation for, and just little things like that that can give people information when they move into the community or have been in the community and don't know where to go. Do they know that possibly you could answer those questions for them? Is that something that you put out there? Is that?
Well, I mean, where information is going out in a lot of different directions. I know with your do you want to speak to
Yeah, so
newcomers?
just this week, actually on Friday night, Berwick Recreation is hosting a welcome for newcomers to our community. And our health board will be there represented, some other organizations will be represented there, and we're really hoping that people are going to come out and talk with us, hear about what the recreation community offers, and yeah, so that's kind of how we're not involved directly with, for example, a welcome wagon. I'm not even sure, Martha, that
I don't think they have
I
them
don't think
anymore, to
that's
tell you the
still
truth.
going on,
But it
yeah.
was sort of that sort of concept was sort of what I was looking
Yeah.
to say that, you know, it might be an opportunity for a
Yes.
newcomer if they knew that they could come to the health board and find out just little tidbits of information about food insecurity, like frugal moms.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
you know, all these little things that go on in the community that people may not have any way of finding out about if they could come to you, and you might be able to, you know, if they know that that's a place that they could go.
I mean, yesterday we were at a meeting, we have the Kings County Community Food Council, which is a variety of people sitting around that table, and I know Becca's here, works with. Even we have like a sort of a resource that lists all the food areas that, you know, where you can get food. There's also one on mental health, and I don't think that's been updated from what I've seen recently. But even with mental health in Kingston, from the health board years ago, there was so much focus on the mental health and wellness that Kings County, that they decided then to create their own mental health association. So we're actually having a joint meeting
with them tonight.
in Kingston tonight, so we'll have our health board and we'll have the Kingston Greenwood Mental Health Association. We offer a lot of courses that with mental health first aid. We've had a number of people attend those particular courses. We've also had community conversations where people can come and have that very conversation that you're talking about, Martha, but not everybody feels comfortable coming to those settings, so sometimes it is one-on-one if you can get
Right.
it. So great suggestion, so thank you, Martha.
Thanks.
Thanks, Counselor. Anything further for our presenters this morning? Okay, I don't see any, so I just say thank you both for the work you do, not just for being here today, but I know the work extends far beyond just coming and presenting to council, so we really appreciate everything you do in our communities and the important work of the community health boards. It's volunteer, so you know, our volunteers are so important. So.
Well, and volunteers are more difficult to get, not just with this organization, but many organizations.
All around.
And the pandemic has had a huge impact on that. And it'll take years, I think, to combat the repercussions in our community from the pandemic.
Yeah.
So thank you, and we look forward to
Thank you.
seeing you next fall.
Next time, we will see you in the fall. Thank you. Some of us will maybe. Have a great rest of your day. At this point, I would look for a motion to receive the presentation, moved by Councillor Burgess, seconded by Councillor Armstrong. The motion is to receive the presentation. All in favor or otherwise, please indicate in the usual fashion on your pin pad. Lots of positive conversations this morning. It's nice to have, not that it's negative in here all the time, but it's because it's not, but it is nice to have two like exciting, invigorating, positive presentations in a row. So thank you all for being here. The motion carries unanimously. The presentation is received. Would folks like a quick break for coffee at this point? I'm seeing nods. We'll break for 10 and come back for item 7, inspections and enforcement services at 10:25. Thank you so much. We'll see you in 10. So next, we're on item 7, inspections and enforcement services. We have a familiar face in chambers this morning presenting, Mr. Terry Brown, the manager of inspections and enforcement. And we're talking about an awarding of a contract for animal control enforcement services. The floor is yours, Terry.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lutz, members of council. This morning I'm here to provide a brief presentation regarding animal control enforcement services and the award of contract 24-06. Our current animal control contract is set to expire on April 30th of this year. In recognition of that, staff prepared an NFRP number 24-06, which was issued on January 26th and closed on February 29th. Areas and components of that NFRP include responding to calls and complaints, picking up and transportation of animals found at large in the municipality, issuance of summary offense tickets, maintaining records and reporting, providing care, maintenance for impounded animals, staff, vehicles, and communication. Throughout this process, we had one bid submitted, and that was the Nova Scotia SPCA, which has held our held our contract for the last 10 years. The animal control enforcement services is a bit of a specialized service that's provided to the municipality. They're responsible for enforcing 2 of our municipal bylaws, which is recognized as 12A and 71A. 12A is our animal control bylaw, and it includes such areas of cats at large, for example, livestock at large. You could have a cow or a horse that's in the middle of the road, and animal control will deal with that. It could be a crowing complaint for roosters and urban chickens. 71A is recognized as our dog bylaw. It includes such areas as dogs at large, fierce and dangerous complaints, unregistered dogs, impounded dogs. The contract also has kenneling services. So for any of you who have ever visited the SPCA, we have a state-of-the-art kenneling service out on the County Home Road. All of our dogs, cats, livestock that are enforced upon or at large are taken to that area. Dog registration, the animal control also has a key role to play with registration. So they ensure that all dogs are registered that are taken into their care before they're released to their owner or taken into the services of the municipality. The contract also includes veterinarian costs. So if there's an injured animal, cat, dog, what have you, the vet will see to that animal before it's released or its care under the municipality. The call volume, our animal control services on average deals with roughly 800 calls a year. That includes anything from, again, a cat at large to someone who's called to say my animal's lost, my dog's missing. It could be a fierce and dangerous call, and so on and so forth. It could be a rooster crowing as an urban chicken, or a dog barking, for example. The first year of the contract is in the amount of $174,996. The budgeted amount for animal control enforcement services contained in the 24-25 budget is in the amount of $176,400. So the first year of the contract is within the allotted budget. This is a chart which identifies all 5 years of the contract. As you'll see, the first year, the monthly invoice, as well as the yearly or the annual fee. It also shows the duration of the contract up to April 30th of 29. And with that is the recommendation that Committee of the Whole recommend Municipal Council award contract 24-06 Animal Control Enforcement Services to the Nova Scotia SPCA for 5 years as outlined in the report dated March 19th, 2024. Happy to take any questions.
And there are a couple. Mayor Matar, go ahead.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Through you, 2 questions. One is, and perhaps I'm missing it, if so I apologize. What was their 2020 to 2024 contract price? Do you,
Through
Recall?
Deputy Mayor Lutz to Mayor Matart, the contract price was $147,000 per year.
and now going to 174, increasing to 189. You're making this recommendation, so I assume that we're happy with the service under the contract?
Through you, Deputy Mayor, to Mayor Matart, yes, we are happy with the service of the contract. We've historically been happy with the services of the Nova Scotia SPCA for the service they provide.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. Councillor Armstrong.
I have a bit of a cough,
Sorry.
thank you. Through you, Deputy, to Mr. Brown. I have a couple of questions, if that's okay. Animals that are impounded, loose, brought to the facility in Waterville, when their owners come to pick them up, are they responsible for any costs that have been incurred while they've been in the custody of the animal control?
Through you, Deputy Mayor Lutz, to Councillor Armstrong. There may be some cost for making sure, like I mentioned, the dog being registered or a cat that needed to be treated. The costs are very minimal, but the focus mainly is on the unregistered animal. So
Okay.
there may be cost, yes.
Okay. There's a line in here on page 1 of the report that you submitted. Bylaw 12A requires the municipality to appoint a pound keeper, blah, blah, blah. Any impounded animal becomes the property of the municipality after 72 hours of impoundment. So after 72 hours, it becomes our dog, our cat, our chicken. So is there cost beyond the contract? Because that animal would have to be fed and veterinary costs if necessary. So is the cost for that included in this contract, or is there additional costs? You know, 'cause you could end up with like 5 or 6 dogs in there at a time that all of a sudden belong to us, right? So I'm curious to know if there's any cost beyond the contract.
Thank you. Through you, Deputy Mayor, to Councillor Armstrong. All the costs, it's inclusive of the contract. So our bylaw indicates that after 72 hours, if the dog, for example, hasn't been claimed by an owner, it does become the responsibility of the municipality. However, the Nova Scotia SPCA takes over and they'll rehome that dog and so on. So there's no additional cost to the municipality. It's inclusive of the contract.
Okay. And you know, I just have one last one. Can you tell me why, and I know that this has been, well, I'm assuming that this is Monday to Friday, 8 to 5. So there's no after hours. If I find a dog running loose in my neighborhood after 4 o'clock on a Friday and before 8 o'clock on a Monday morning, that dog is basically my responsibility until, and I'm wondering why we don't have after hours.
Yeah, thank you, Deputy Mayor Lutz, to Councillor Armstrong. So in that regard, you can make that phone call if the dog is at large and so on, or if you want to keep the dog, but it's to keep costs down. So if we had to have an additional 24/7 contract provider, our costs would be driven up. They do come out and they do respond on emergency situations. So if it's a fierce and dangerous, usually the police are involved, but animal control will also attend. We have to look at priorities. So if there's another way to keep the dog at bay until they can come out and pick up the dog, that's what we look at.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Allen.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. My question to Terry was about after hours, but he's answered that question, so thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Harding.
Through you, Deputy Mayor. That was the same question I was going to ask too, because situations that have come up in the past, and but is SPA the only one that bid on the contract?
Through you, Deputy Mayor Lutz, just if I can touch base on not only your question, but the after hours. So
Yeah.
Just to touch base a little bit on that, is that was a concern that was dealt with. We reviewed the current contract, and we just kind of, we bettered the attendance after hours to ensure that our public's being served. But to answer your question, yes, the SPCA is the only bid that was submitted.
Yeah, they are a great outfit, and I'm glad they're here in the valley. And but just the after-hour thing, just a little bit. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Killam.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Through you to Terry. This may not be really important, but I see the issue around persistent crowing, urban chicken only. Is that a new addition to this, or has that always been there?
Through you, Deputy Mayor Lutz, to Councillor Killam. That was an addition, and I believe that was 2015 or 2016 thereabouts, when urban chicken was actually added to bylaw 12A.
The complaints that I get, and I know that it's part of the chicken family, but are from roosters crowing, not so much chickens, but there's probably a little difference there. But I just didn't know whether an add-on with an urban rooster and chickens.
Through you, Deputy Mayor Lutz, to Councillor Killam. So that is a provision within our bylaw. So that was introduced when the urban chicken was introduced. So to try to contain those crowing complaints, it was added at that point in time.
Okay, just a technicality. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I have no more lights on the board. I have a question, if I could. So when someone adopts an animal from the SPCA, that fee goes back to the SPCA and is part of their overall operating revenue? Is that how that works?
That's correct.
Okay. And then my second one is, it reminds me a bit of fire service in that I think the SPCA relies a lot on volunteers to operate. Is it, like, as part of their operating model, they have a lot of volunteers and they fundraise and they have alternate revenue sources other than the $15,000 a month that we'll eventually be giving them. Do you know anything, and this may not be the right question to ask you, but are they struggling with volunteers in the similar way that organizations, as was referenced earlier by the community health boards, are they struggling to recruit volunteers? And because it is sort of an essential part of their model. So do you know if they're having that challenge?
Yeah, thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'm not aware. It's not a conversation that I've had in regard to volunteers with the organization. I do know is that like a lot of organizations that are not-for-profit, they do rely on volunteers. However, we try to keep what the municipal involvement is separate from the provincial body. So they may be struggling on the provincial side. I'm not aware of that. Maybe they're in good condition. However, the contract for the municipality is separate and apart there as well.
Right, so it's with the Kings version of the SPCA.
That's correct, yes.
Okay, that's a good clarification. Anything further from council? Councillor Allen.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Through you to Terry, do we know roughly how much money we take in from selling dog tags, registering dogs?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lutz. Through to Councillor Allen. I don't have that number right at this point in time, but I can certainly get that and forward that to council.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor. Anything further? Okay. I see we have a motion, which is that Committee of the Whole recommend Municipal Council award Contract 2406 Animal Control Enforcement Services to the Nova Scotia SPCA for 5 years as outlined in the request for decision dated March 19th, 2024. The mover of the motion, Councillor Granger, Councillor Armstrong. Thank you. Anything further, any debate or discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor or otherwise, please signify in the usual fashion. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Terry, for leading us through that decision and the presentation. Really appreciate that. And thank you, Council, for your attentiveness. Just a reminder, as I didn't announce it at the beginning, we do have special counsel following this meeting as we near the end. At this point, I would look to item 8, board and committee reports. Are there any reports to come before council today? Okay, I don't see any, so we'll move to other business. Is there any other business to come before committee of the whole this morning? Okay, seeing none, we have no public present, and so we'll skip item 10, and at this point, I'll look to a motion to adjourn, and then we'll move to special counsel. I have a motion to adjourn. Councillor Harding, Councillor Davison. Discussion on the motion to adjourn? Seeing none, all in favor or otherwise, please indicate now. And once we receive the results of this vote, we will allow a couple minutes to change the system over so we can re-begin as special counsel. The motion is carried unanimously. Thank you, council. I believe the majority of this is in camera, so we'll be going in camera anyway. Good, okay. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Municipality of the County of Kings Special Municipal Council meeting. The date is Tuesday, March 19th, 2024. Following our regularly scheduled Committee of the Whole meeting, I'm Deputy Mayor Emily Lutz chairing this meeting. I'll begin this morning by taking roll call. All of council is present with us this morning. Thank you, council. At this point, I look for an approval of the agenda, which is the bulk of it is just in camera. Moved by Councillor Burgess, seconded by Councillor Davison. Thank you. Oh, we're good? Okay. It's been moved and seconded. Approval of the agenda. All in favor or otherwise, please signify in the usual fashion. And I'd ask council to consider if they have any conflict of interest issues once we have a approved motion agenda. See no negative votes on the agenda. Any conflict of interest issues anyone wishes to disclose? Okay, seeing none, I look for a motion to move in camera. Moved by Councillor Burgess, seconded by Councillor Davison. Thank you so much. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor or otherwise, please signify now. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you, council. We are in camera. We'll wait. Okay. Welcome back. We have moved back into public session at this meeting, and we have two motions that the municipality would like to address at this point. So the first is that Municipal Council direct the CAO and Mayor to enter into an agreement with the Annapolis Valley Trails Coalition with terms and conditions as provided in the request for decision dated March 19th, 2024. Do I have a mover of the motion? Councillor Burgess. Councillor Davison. Thank you. Discussion on this motion? Seeing none, all in favor or otherwise, please indicate in the usual fashion. Thank you. The motion carries. And the second motion is actually split into two parts, which we'll deal with separately. The first is that the Municipal Council allow the allocated $15,000 in capital funding to be provided to the Kings Point to Point Transit Society for operating costs for the 2023-2024 and 2024-2025 fiscal years. Do I have a mover of the motion? Moved by Councillor Burgess, seconded by Councillor Armstrong. Thank you. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, all in favor or otherwise, please signify in the usual fashion. The motion carries. Thank you. And the third and final motion coming before this special meeting of council today is that Municipal Council direct the CIO to advise Kings Point to Point Transit Society and Trans-County Transportation Society that the municipality wishes to remove council appointments from their board of directors. We have a mover of that motion. Councillor Allen, seconded by Councillor Burgess. Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor or otherwise, please signify in the usual fashion. The motion carries unanimously with the exception of one vote. So 9 in favor, 1 against. Thank you, Council. We have no further business to come before the meeting. There is no public. At this point, all that's left is a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Granger, seconded by Councillor Killam. Thank you all. Please indicate now your preference. Thank you to everyone for your participation today. Council, for your thoughtfulness on all the matters that came before you today. Much appreciated. We are adjourned unanimously. Thank you. And there's lunch coming at 12, so we're a bit early, but at 10, around